Welcome everyone to our weekly Forex market analysis call, and this is for trading for the week of October 16th to 20th, 2017. And just a quick disclaimer before we get started, this is for educational purposes only. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money. All right, so to start things off, we will take a look at our calendar for the week, see what's coming up in terms of news, and then we'll move on to our charts. So, all right, starting off, we have two people speaking here, Bank of Japan, Governor Kuroda and Fed Chair Yellen. So lately, and I've been talking about this a lot, central banks are playing a major role in moving the markets. So anytime there's a central banker speaking, just be mindful of that because things can move quite a bit as a result of that. So going into Monday here, we don't have any red news here, but we do have in the Asian session we have CPI number for New Zealand, which will be important again, and monetary policy meeting minutes. So again, this is for the central bank, Reserve Bank of Australia. So this will be important for Australian dollar, and essentially what the market is looking for to see what Reserve Bank of Australia is going to do, considering other banks are raising rates. So that's what the market will be looking for here. We have inflation numbers for the British pound. So if this inflation number comes in positive, so over the last little while, we have seen positive data come out from out of the UK. And so if the inflation number comes out positive, this will be positive for the British pound. And one of the reasons it will be important here will be because Bank of England is another one of those banks that have talked about potential of raising rates. They're not on track to raise rates right now, but more CPI numbers come in positive, and some of these numbers that are critical for central banks. So more of these numbers that come in positive sort of raises market expectations for an interest rate hike. So even though they're not doing it at this moment, it just creates that expectation that at some point soon in the near future, they may start talking about it or may want to consider doing an interest rate hike. So that's why these CPI numbers are important. And then we have Bank of England, Governor Carney speaking on Tuesday here as well. So that will be important. And then we have another central banker. We have ECB, European Central Bank President Draghi speaking again. That will be important. And we have average earnings index going further into our Wednesday here. We also have FOMC members speaking. So FOMC members, when they speak, it's not as important as when Yellen speaks because she's the Fed chair. However, again, any comments, especially with the Fed right now, market is trying to gauge if they will do another interest rate hike this year. So that's what the whole point of view will be from market, or the expectation will be from the market. So if anyone makes a comment or comments that suggest that Fed may not do an interest rate hike, that will be negative for the US dollar. So that's what we are looking for. We have building permits. Again, this is a leading indicator, so this will be important. Crude oil inventories are always important for the Canadian dollar. And then employment numbers for Australia, which will be important here as well. And then we have China, GDP, and industrial production. So even though we don't trade the Chinese currency here, this will have an impact on Australia and New Zealand because they are the biggest trade partners with China. So these numbers will sort of have that cross impact on those currencies. So keep that in mind. So retail sales numbers on Thursday for British pound will be important. Employment claims and Philly Fed manufacturing index will be important for the US. And finally, going into Friday here, we have CPI and core retail sales numbers for Canadian dollar, so for Canada. So again, this will be important for Canadian dollar. Like I said before, CPI or inflation is one of the most important numbers that the central banks track. So any changes, so if this is negative, it will have a bigger impact on Canada, but if it's positive, that will be, positive for the Canadian dollar, because essentially Bank of Canada has said that they're going to watch data. They're not going to keep raising rates mechanically. So as more positive data comes out, it gives the central bank more incentive or reason to raise rates. So that's what we need to keep in mind. All right, so let's move on to our charts now. Let's start off with euro here. So interesting week. Last week, we came into this important support and resistance area. Price has pushed up since then. And now we have a bullish candle close for this week. So going forward, we are looking for price to continue on higher and potentially back into this 120.20 area, go up higher here. However, just notice that we are at an important support and resistance level right here. So price had trouble at 1.1880 level before. So this is where I would keep this in mind and make sure that we are waiting for price to react at this level. So 1.1880 level will be where I would be looking for a reaction. So if the price goes to test this level again and stays below that, then we are looking for another move to the downside, potentially back into this 1.1680 level. However, if the price breaks above and then holds above, we're looking for a move to the upside here into 1.2020 area. So this level here, 1.1880, will be the critical level. So overall, from technical perspective, I am looking for a move to the upside, but I would like to see a break above 1.1880 because it's an important area. And if you take a look at it from the daily perspective, see how price is reacting at this level. So from daily perspective, we have this head and shoulders formation going on. That's why, so even though weekly close was bullish on this, I would wait to see if the price actually manages to go on the other side, because otherwise what could happen is we have this head formation up top here, so we could get one of these head and shoulders type of formation. That's what we have to watch out for, because price could come back into this support and resistance again. So that's what I'd be looking. So if the price was going to continue higher, we would see something like this. Price would go to the other side of 1.1880 and then hold above, which would then give us an indication that it's going to go higher. And that's the only time I would be looking for a long. But for now, I would like to see how price reacts at this level, whether we get this head and shoulders formation, or is this just a pullback into this previous support or resistance level, and then price goes up higher. So this level here, 1.1880, would be critical in determining that move. Okay, so that's euro. Pound here. Pound was interesting last week. We had a big reaction to the downside here, and then we had a big push to the upside. So with pound, what's going on at the moment is Brexit. So Brexit concerns are driving the market at the moment. So first we had these negative Brexit stuff come out where they were having trouble with the negotiations, reaching agreements. And then we saw comments come out, I think it was later on Thursday, that they were, or Thursday or Friday, where basically, essentially, they said they're going to kind of extend it for another 2 years, which is positive for the Brexit negotiations. Essentially, gives them more time. They still get to be a one sort of monetary union there. So that's what's driving the market. So I would be very careful trading the British pound because of these type of moves which go in one direction. So if you take a look at the 4 hours, we had a drop and then a quick reversal of that, and now we are moving higher. So looking at from our weekly perspective, this is bullish. So we're looking for another move to the upside. So once price crosses this 1.3380 level, I'm looking for it to go into 13620 level. So basically back into the top here. But again, just like we talked about euro here, this is important here as well. It is important support and resistance. So I want to see the price close on the other side before I get overly bullish on this, because this one could just turn around and kind of come back down as well. So just keep that in mind, because this could be a retracement of this previous move to the downside and then continued move further down. So that's something to keep in mind. So I just want to make sure it's not one of these. So that's why we have to make sure price is able to break to the other side of 133.80. If it doesn't, then we are looking for a move back into this previous support or resistance area. So this week, because we have had those wild swings last week, we have to be open to looking at our support resistance and seeing where price wants to go in relation to that. Aussie dollar, we have had a huge week for Australian dollar here, very bullish. So now based on our candle close here, we are closing above this previous support and resistance area at 78.80. Very, very bullish engulfing candle. As a result, I'm looking for a further move to the upside, and the next target would be 80.60 level back into these highs here. New Zealand dollar as well, it was dropping, and so this is what we saw. Price hit this hit this level for 4 days in a row and couldn't break below it, and then it started going up. So now we are into this previous support and resistance area. So looking at our weekly candle here, this is a bullish candle. It's not quite bullish engulfing yet because it hasn't closed above this previous candle. So at this point, New Zealand could go either way. It is bullish. The weekly close is quite bullish. And as a result of that, I would be looking for a further move out to the upside into this 73.50 area. However, as you see with some of these other pairs as well that we talked about, it is coming into important support and resistance area. And because a lot of these pairs are at these levels, we have to be careful that they don't do one of these. So let me just bring this a little higher here. So I want to make sure that price does not do one of these, because if it does, then if it holds below the 72.20 level, then the chances are it could come down. But based on the weekly close here, I am bullish on that, so I'd be looking for a further move to the upside. But again, need to see a close above the 72.20 level for the price to continue higher. But overall, the bias is bullish. Dollar CAD here. Let's take a look at dollar CAD. So US dollar has essentially taken a hit this previous week for now. So we're looking for price to come down further. We had a bearish candle close, small candles for the last 2 weeks. However, it is a reversal here. It shows a reversal here. So we're looking for a price to continue down further. The target here would be into the 1.2300 area to the downside here. So looking for a continuation there. Euro pound. Weekly chart here, we see a bearish pin bar close, and now I'm looking for price to come down further into this 87.50 area back into the bottom here. So that will be the next move. With this one as well, if things change with British pound, things can change with euro pound because it could reverse direction. So just be mindful of that. But for now, what this looks like is we had move down, pull back, and then we could get another move to the downside here and potentially further into these levels here as well. So that's how I'm looking at it. Bearish candle close for the week, so I'm looking for a follow through to the downside. Target is 87.50 level. Euro Swiss franc here. So Euro Swiss franc, we are into the top of this range here. So we are bullish. It has stayed bullish. Prices making these overall higher highs. So it's holding the trend to the upside. So based on this, I'm looking for a further move to the upside. The target here will be this 1.1620 level to the upside here. So we could see price drop a little bit. Sorry, excuse me. Price come down, pull back a little bit, and then push up higher. So the target here is 1.1620 to the upside. Pound Swiss. Pound Swiss has had a bullish candle close here. So now I'm looking for price to continue on further, but anything that happens with the British pound will have an impact here as well. It is into important support and resistance area, right? It's testing the pin here. So we do need to see this close on the price to hold above 129.80. And once it does that, the bias is to the upside back into this 132.20 area. So just remember, with the Brexit stuff going on at the moment, the negotiations going on at the moment, any comments that come out of this Brexit negotiations will have a big impact on the British pound. So just be mindful of that when trading any of these British pound crosses here. Dollar Swiss franc, we have seen price sort of reverse from here. So right now in this one, it looks like it is bouncing off of this important support and resistance area where price came into previously, but it's not a clear bearish reversal at this point. It did close lower for the week. So if you take a look at the daily chart, we can see there wasn't much going on for the last 3 days. Price was very, very neutral. It did reject. We did have a nice bearish candle close, engulfing candle here, but for the last 3 days, it hasn't done much. So as a result of this, this is more neutral than, so neutral to bearish is where I would take this. And I'm looking for price to continue, as long as it stays below this 9,800 level, I'm looking for price to continue lower back into this little range that it has established into 9650 level. So the bias is to the downside on this, but overall it's bearish to neutral. Aussie Swiss franc, Aussie crosses have all had quite bullish moves here. So now I'm looking for further retest of this to the upside. So very, very bullish candle close here, looking for price to go back into this 7780 level or 7800 level, back into these highs. So this one is looking quite bullish. Yen here, pound yen. Pound looks like it's pulling back here, but it doesn't look overly bullish. It looks more like a retracement. So in this case, I'm going to look for a further move to the downside here. But it seems to be reacting at this support and resistance level, and it's an important support and resistance level. So what I'm looking to see here is how price reacts. So it could be one of these. Price goes to test the bottom of these pins and then drops further, which will be a continuation of our bearish trend. Or price could just pull up back into this top of the range here. So again, excuse me, sorry. So again, it's not very clear at the moment. Very, very small move for the week. And if you take a look at the daily here, it looks like price wants to, so it looks more like a pullback. So where we have price just sort of redoing this move, it pulled back into this 38.2 retracement, and I would look for price to sort of move lower here. So going back to our weekly, let's take a look. Oops. Okay, so going back to our weekly candle close, so based on that information, there are two things that I would pay attention to. One is, does the price hold above this 147.30 level, which is the support and resistance area? If it holds above, then it could go all the way up here. But my overall, based on this overall trend, my bias is to the downside. So I'm looking for price to come back down in this 143.50 area. But if it does not manage to break below 143.30, then I would be looking for price to move back up. But for now, the bias is to the downside. Euro yen here, we had a very sort of bearish candle close here, sort of like a bearish pin bar. And based on that, I'm looking for a further move to the downside. But again, it's kind of stuck at this 131.80 level, and it hasn't broken this level yet. So as we saw in the case of this New Zealand dollar here, see how price tested this level 3-4 times here and did not manage to break it. That's something we have to be mindful of and look for euro yen as well. So I would like to see a close below 131.80, and once it does that, I'm looking for a move to the downside. So the move that I'm expecting here, or I would like to see here, would be one of this, and then price comes down. So the critical thing would be to see if the price can close below 131.80 and then hold below that level. Once it does that, the bias will be clearly bearish. But for now, we are at the bottom of this range that the price has stayed in for the last 4 weeks. So we like to see a close below this range, and then the bias will be bearish on this. Dollar yen here, very clearly bearish bias here. We had a little doji here, weekly doji, and as a result of that, price moved lower. So that's a reversal signal. We have a nice bearish candle close here, so I'm looking for a further move to the downside. The target here would be 110 level here. That would be where I am looking back into this support and resistance area. So looking for a further move to the downside in dollar yen. Okay, New Zealand yen, and then we'll wrap it up here. This one has had a bullish candle close, but we are into this support and resistance area. This is a very important support and resistance area. So as long as price stays below this, I'm looking for price to come back into this 79.20 area. But if it crosses to the upside, then it may go into this 82.20. Gold. All right, so let's take a look at gold before we wrap it up. Where is my gold? There we go. Rajiv, I don't have a dollar index on these charts. This particular broker does not. Well, I'll check actually. Let me give me a sec. I don't think they give me a dollar index, but I'll take a look. Okay, so here, this looks quite bullish here. We are looking at gold weekly. We had a pin here, which was rejection of this previous level, and now we are looking quite bullish. So the bias is to the upside, and we are looking at a further move up into this 1320.50 level. So quite bullish, so looking for upside here. Okay, so let me see if I have dollar index. Let me know if you can see it here. I have NASDAQ, SPX, FTSE, oil. I don't see dollar index. Yeah, I don't see it. I'll try to. Yeah, I'll try to set up another broker's charts here that do provide dollar index. It is important. I don't have it on this computer. I have it on the other computer. Okay. All right, so that's it. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right, so we'll wrap it up for now. So you guys have a wonderful week trading, and I will see you next time. You're welcome, everyone.